December 23rd, 2013, me and my cousin were home alone, and we decided to play a little game called The Midnight Man.
Hello, cool friends, and welcome to the Freaky Femme podcast. I'm Em.
And I'm Doll, and we have a little creepypasta. What am I, Canadian? Got a little creepypasta to tell you. And this one's called, it's creepypasta, or it could be a little game, kind of like we were talking about Bloody Mary in our last episode. Have you ever heard of the Midnight Man, Em?
I have not. I'm excited to hear what it's all about. We still need to try to do it.
Yes, we're going to do that, and we'll do the Midnight Man together. And don't forget to like, subscribe, so you can see that happening over on our YouTube. And we'll also have a in-person podcast, and follow our Instagram too while you're at it. And we have a Facebook now.
Yes, we have a Facebook, Freaky Femmes, at Facebook if
And
that's
then
more
if you
your
want,
vibe.
also don't forget to email us your stories and your experiences so we can tell them. We're going to be telling some experiences from you guys at the end of this episode. I think that's what we're going to start doing, like tell somebody's experience like at the end of each episode. What do you think about that?
I think that's great. And we also need to tell them if they don't want us to say their name or want us to say, like, if they want us to use their username of their, like, Gmail account.
Yes, and that email is thefreakyfems@gmail.com. Okay, now with that out of the way, we can talk about the Midnight Man. Okay, the Midnight Man's murky origins seem to date back to a creepypasta that emerged sometime before 2010, which is where I found one of the earliest dated entries online. Of course, as these things go, they claim that it was based on an old pagan ritual used to punish lawbreakers. Whether you believe that or not, I'll leave that up to you. Regardless, the story has worked its ways into the realm of urban legends, which are my personal favorite, and has spawned multiple film adaptations. Unlike other games, which are made for one or two players, the Midnight Man, or the Midnight Man game, depending upon the source, you can play as many people as you want. In fact, given the objective of the game, it would actually be a good idea to have multiple players to keep the Midnight Man focused divided. Take a look at the instructions below and decide if you're ready to face the Midnight Man. Supplies, instructions, and warnings.
Ready.
Okay, we need candles. Okay, let's make checklist. Remember this, guys.
Write that down.
Candle, lighter, or book of matches. You need a pen, a piece of paper, a wooden door closed, salt, enough to make a decent sized circle around yourself. Okay, we're gonna need a big thing of salt. We're gonna get one of those
We can get
giant,
one of those.
Black tubes of it with a little girl on it.
I have one.
Supply note. Each player will need each of these items listed for themselves, save for the door. Different sites say different things, but there seems to be one consensus that you can all use the same door. Do that part of the ritual together. However, if you have multiple wooden doors available and there's enough for all players, by all means split up. Okay, instructions.
That sounds like a horrible idea.
I know. Let's split up, gang. Nothing ever good happens when that goes on. Okay, instructions. Write your full name, first, middle, last. Okay, what are we telling our names to the devil for? I don't think I want to play this game no more. On a piece of paper, using a pen. Prick your finger and place a drop of... Okay, no, actually, I didn't know this is what you did. So we're literally signing our names away to the devil or something. To the Midnight Man, I guess. We'll be using flake blood because demons don't know no difference. I got a little tube of fake blood because we're going to be wearing our vampire teeth. We'll put that fake blood on there.
I'll do it.
Okay. Then you can put your blood on both of our faces. You'll want to play the game inside a house or a building where there are plenty of rooms to spread out and move around. You must break away from each other when the game begins, so you'll want room to move about without constantly being in each other's way. Turn off all the lights inside whenever you're playing. When the midnight approaches, set your paper in front of the door, light the candle, and set atop of the piece of paper. Okay? Now here's the tricky part of the initial game. You must knock on the door 22 times. I'm gonna lose count already. 22 times, and the final knock must take place at the moment the clock strikes midnight. Otherwise, the game will not work. This is actually a good reason to use multiple doors. One of you is bound to hit the door at the stroke of midnight. Okay, that is a little tricky. After the 22nd knock, open the door, blow out the candle, and close the door again. Oh, so you just invited a demon into your house. Okay, yeah,
That's
so
what
we
it
are
sounds
doing this
like.
at Mom's. Okay. Okay. Immediately relight
There's already
the
some
candle.
in there. It's okay.
Yeah, they'll just become friends, buddies, pals.
We're just inviting more.
Yeah. Immediately relight the candle. Assuming you have followed all the rules, the Midnight Man is now in your house. He's probably in there already, to be honest. It's probably his summer home.
Yeah.
And your job is to avoid him at all costs until 3:33 a.m.
That's like hours.
Yeah, bro. Could you imagine? This would actually be a really fun video to make. Because we could
I think
actually
we
make
should do
this.
it at Mom's.
Okay, that sounds like a
I
good
don't
idea, 'cause
want to
we could make
invite it
this-
to my house or your house. So we'll invite it at Mom's because Mom's house is already haunted.
Okay. You should begin to walk around inside. Can you imagine walking around for that long? Unless things were happening, then I probably would be
Three and a
running around
half
acting
hours because
crazy.
it starts at midnight. Because you said
Yeah.
3:33.
Yeah.
Mm.
That number came up again in one of our
Mhm.
other stories. Okay. You should begin to walk around inside your house. You're allowed to go anywhere except outside, but do not stop moving for any reason. You have become prey to the Midnight Man. He won't stop stalking you until the game ends. Does the game end when he catches me? When does the game
Maybe.
end?
3:33, I guess.
That's the origin. Well, that's not actually even the origin, because where did the Midnight Man come from? He comes from a room in the house, but like, I want to know his backstory. Like, what was his
Don't you
parents
let
like?
him in the door?
Yeah, but I mean, like, what was his parents like? What did he do growing up? Like that kind of stuff. I thought that was gonna be the origin. Not okay. Well, I guess that explains the game.
You said I
Actually-
am curious of how he came to be.
The Midnight Man. Maybe it's just a demon, to be honest, and they just gave him a name.
Yeah, but who would have thought to summon him that way?
I don't
Or
know.
someone just
well,
happened to summon him that way, and then
They said at the
they
beginning
didn't know it
that,
was him, and then they found
Yeah.
out, oh, let's call him this. I looked on the Night Man's wiki page that someone made. It says its origin is creepypasta. It says it's a pagan spirit, powers and skills, hallucination generation, cause immobilization, only possibly able to sense weakness, causing permanent trauma, ability to watch everyone who escapes him. So it's saying he can follow you if you don't get taken by him.
so if you don't get play the game,
He can teleport. His hobby is killing anyone who plays the midnight game, stalking
good hobby.
who escape him. Goals: killing anyone that plays a midnight game. Crimes: serial murderer, breaking and entering, vandalism, stalking.
To be honest, though, did he actually break and enter when you invited him in? This is kind of what it says at the very bottom. It says, according to the entries about him on various websites, he can see inside your mind and dig out your deepest fears, trapping you inside hallucinations that will last until the game ends. Other sites also mention that he may remove, he just may remove your organs one at a time. You'll be unable to stop him from doing so. You will also be unable to cry out for help from your fellow players. So if he catches you, he's gonna rip out your organs one by one. Like when we tell the people who are gonna play this game with us, we're gonna be like, okay, just a side note, guys. If he catches you, he might pull your organs out one by one, but that's just an if, okay? That's not confirmed. We don't know for sure. Just keep moving.
He can possibly sense your weaknesses.
Yeah, maybe he can do that.
Maybe. Just maybe.
Okay. If your candle goes out, you have 10 seconds to relight the flame. If you successfully keep moving, if you fail to do so, you should immediately make a circle of salt around you. Actually, that is like ghost demon stuff, though, with salt. We were even looking into that with our last episodes about mirrors and salt and stuff like that, because it like wards off evil spirits and bad stuff. Immediately draw. Okay, I'm going to be holding a salt thing the whole time. Large around enough for you to sit down within the borders and stay there until the game ends at 3:33.
Oh, what do you got to do if you have to go to the restroom? You're going to have to be still for a minute.
That's a good question. Should you feel a sudden drop of temperature, hear phantom whispers, or see dark shadowy figures, the Midnight Man is near. Keep moving to protect your candle's flame. We're gonna have to get big candles. That's
for 3 hours?
I don't know no candle that be staying lit for 3 hours. You know our hands are gonna be covered in like, well, I guess if you have it in a thing, but it's gonna get hot. The glass is gonna get hot. But
to go around with oven mitts on our hands, carrying our flame around.
Okay, at 3:33 a.m., the game is ended, and you may now turn on the lights to your home. Okay, now warnings. Do not turn on the lights during the game. What are you going to do about it? What is he going to do about it? Is he scared of the light? Do not substitute flashlights for candles. Do not allow yourself to fall asleep once the game has begun. Do not use someone else's Oh no. They caught me. That's what I was going to do. Oh my goodness. Okay, do not use someone else's blood on the piece of paper. That's cheating. They wrote that right after I said that just to get at me. Do not try to provoke the Midnight Man. That's going to be a hard one. That's probably going to even be harder. Your job is to stay on the run. Imagine people with this tiny, tiny little house that they don't have room to walk around in. Just walking back and forth. Your job is to stay on the run, not stage a confrontation with the beast. So, like, nothing really bad will happen. It just says stay on the run, but I can mock and stay on the run at the same time. And finally...
You can run and mock at the same time.
Yeah. And finally, and perhaps the most creepy of the bunch, don't assume that just because the game is over, the Midnight Man has left. Some say once you've played, he never truly leaves. He always watches, even now, while you're reading this. Well, I haven't summoned him yet. How is he looking at me? He's saying he's looking at us now. We haven't even done nothing yet. He's like, you were thinking about it. Tell me about your, so have fun with the Midnight Man. Okay, thanks, buddy. Thanks for telling us how to do it. Okay, that was a little more than I expected. What do you think about all that?
I don't know. Like you said, I feel like it definitely is like, there's a demon summoning aspect to it.
Yeah. Yeah, very, very
and
much.
And it's just a different version of a demon.
What's also interesting about it is also, yeah, like writing your name and like putting your blood on it, that's where it gets into demon territory. Okay, so shall we get into the experience with the Midnight Man? Someone's encounter with the Midnight Man?
Yes, I am ready.
Okay. My experience with the Midnight Man, December 23rd, 2013. Me, Jake, and my cousin Tom were at home alone. My parents and siblings had left for Maryland earlier that day to visit with our grandparents for Christmas. Hey, this is around the same time. I didn't even realize it was Christmas stuff. The plan was for us to join them on Christmas Eve. I had to dog sit and my cousin, Tom, was keeping me company. They had left about roughly 2 p.m. and by night we were completely bored. We started watching some horror movies and had gotten into the horror movie mood. Not scared, but excited. So a quick Google search led us to this amazing simple... No, it ain't no simple game. I'm gonna stop you right there, guy. We had everything we needed already at home, and we could do it. This was something neither of us believed would work. even the tiniest little bit. Our plan was to prove it. For science. Okay, boy. Smart, right? Let me describe to you my house real quick. Pretty average, 2-story house, 4 bedrooms, 2 bath, large basement, and living room. That's actually a pretty big house, not pretty average. 11 p.m. This was it to me when our night started. We started to assemble everything we needed in the kitchen. 2 large candles, 2 note cards, a sewing needle, 2 lighters, 2 baggies of salt, a silver cross. Okay, why you need a silver cross? I didn't hear about that. Which was hung around my sister's door to keep whatever we summoned out, if it worked. Then we finished collecting all of what we were going to need. We got pretty excited. We were definitely no longer bored. 11:58. After writing down our names, both Tom and I pricked our fingers and put a dot of blood on the piece of paper and stepped outside with all our supplies. We placed our bloody names on the doorstep and waited for midnight. At 11:59, we knocked on the door 22 times. 12 o'clock. We walked into my house, lit the candle. Oh, they're saying that they did it outside and walked inside the house. Interesting.
Sounds like they left it outside, and then isn't there a part where it says you have to open the door and close it again?
Yeah. At 12 o'clock, we walked into my house, lit our candles, and commenced the game. It was pretty simple for a while, walking around pretending we could feel cold spots and basically playing the paranormal investigator. We played this for about an hour before we got bored. I decided I was done playing, and I sat down on the couch with the candle and talked to Tom, who was feeling pretty much the same as I. We managed to talk for maybe 5 minutes. I was looking at Tom and he was looking around when he stopped talking in mid-sentence, his eyes fixed on something without saying a word. I look over to see what he saw. In the doorway was a very black outline, darker than pitch black, blacker than the blackness. Okay, he's really black. That's what he's trying to tell you. Darker than pitch black, blacker than blackness. The outline in the darkness. This thing was standing in the doorway to the kitchen leading to the living room. It was almost human, but so much worse. His head was touching the top of the doorway, and his shoulders were touching the sides. This thing's arms were down where his knees were. It looked right at us. The only reason I know that this thing was not a figment of my imagination was that when I started describing it, Tom finished the description. We ran into my room, which had felt safest the entire night. We did not shut the door, which was against the rules. If you close a door, it would know exactly where you were. So we saw this thing pass the door and go down the hallway. As it did, this draft created and blew out our candles. A draft is too kind of a word. It was a wind. I could not get my candle to light again. Finally, at the 10-second count, I got it to light again. Tom was freaking out about it, and I was desperately praying. I didn't need to draw a salt circle. If I did, Tom would have to venture out alone, and I would be left sitting in my own circle in the pitch black with no candle, the darkness for company. At this point, we decided we needed to go downstairs and stay there. 2:30 a.m. We walked quickly but silently down the stairs and huddled in the basement, near the fireplace. I did not know how we managed it, but we somehow managed to create what I could only describe as a bubble of positive energy. During this time, we talked about everything we could and would do to keep the good energy going. This was by far the hardest thing I've done. How hard it is to think of good things when you're so scared. The entire time we were downstairs, footprints were stomping up and down the stairs, all throughout the kitchen and the hallway above us. Every once in a while, we could see a face looking at us from the stairs, so we would say it was pretty dang hard to keep that shield up. We sat down there for what felt like years. The clock on the wall seemed to move way too slow. When 3:33 finally came, that's when my phone suddenly turned on at full volume. I take this as that thing saying goodbye in its own way. We immediately left and booked it out of there. Just got to the car and drove till daylight. Neither of us were able to believe what just happened. Summary: what I took away from this is don't effing, they literally say effing. It literally says don't F and then /ing mess with the paranormal. Those boards of communication with spirits or flipping voodoo will screw you over. This thing seemed to feed on negative energy, and unless you have experienced something like this, I do not know if you can understand how much it seemed to be in your head. We would only do it this again to prove we are not crazy, and with someone else to prove it. I apologize for my writing. It stinks. Yes, it does. I'm glad he said that because this whole time I've been struggling and inputting words so it would sound good. Okay, I'm sorry for my sucky writing. Please leave me a comment if you've done this game or is planning on doing it. One of the first comments is, "Congratulations, you summoned a demon."
Sounds like it. Didn't say if it followed them after.
Yeah, it didn't. This isn't actually the story though. This is an actual person's like experience of actually playing the game. I thought this was the original story, but apparently it's not.
I thought the whole time they were kids. I didn't realize because he's like, we got in the car and drove till daylight. And I'm like, oh, I thought they were children. I was like, how did they drive?
Yeah, I thought they were too. Okay, if they had a car, like why didn't they go do something besides summon a demon?
Right.
They could go drive around.
Go cruising.
Someone said, why do people continue to think that these rituals are games? You're lucky it was a temporal contract. Okay, what does this guy know that we don't?
Kind of alarming.
I guess it is a type of contract because you're using your blood in your name.
Kind of concerning. Kind of makes me scared to do it. I don't know if I want to now.
Somebody said, may I make a suggestion? Before you learn how to summon an oddity, make sure you already know how to control and demise it. Believe me, it makes this kind of experiment both safer and more enjoyable. Never ever summon something that you can't dismiss. Yeah, that's the truth, but the thing is you can't dismiss it. You just have to wait till it goes away. So maybe words to the wise, that one guy. Anyways.
So we do have a few listeners that sent us their stories. She said, hey freaks, on a previous episode of your podcast, you guys talked about shadow people. You've also mentioned that one theory about them possibly bringing remnants of childhood trauma. I couldn't help but think of one time I did shadow work to process a lot of things that I've went through as a child, and it resulted in having a ghost in my bedroom for weeks. I've had a really bad childhood, mostly due to my father, who suffered from multiple undiagnosed mental issues. Sounds like our dad. He also practiced a lot of dark stuff. Because of him, I've encountered ghosts, ghouls, and many supernatural experiences. If you can believe it. All of this and more turned me into a very bitter and sad grown-up that wondered why I had to miss out on a lot of normal and wonderful experiences. Bitterness was very exhausting emotion and prevented me from functioning normally on a day-to-day basis. And I wanted to truly get closure on this without paying a therapy bill. After doing this shadow work in my bedroom, every time I tried to sleep, a negative, particularly feminine energy would disturb me and my husband, who was first to decide he could not sleep in the room any longer. Mind you, I have not yet told him what the cause was. Mostly because I had no idea what it was or where it came from. One of the first encounters was when I was half asleep and heard a lady and a man having a low-toned sort of whispering conversation right beside my window. As if they were speaking directly into my room. Ugh. There were also noises that I had grown up hearing with my dad that practiced a very particular rattling. It was so clear and I was so spooked, I hopped out of my bed and ran outside to see if anyone was there. Of course, there wasn't. Another instance, I was half asleep when I felt myself falling into this drowning, watery sensation. It was very much felt like I was being held down. This was when I knew that what I was experiencing wasn't just bedtime restlessness. After many disturbances and being ran out of my room by this entity, I took it upon myself to try and banish it in Jesus' name, something I've never done before. I noticed an immediate difference, but my suspicions were confirmed when I noticed my husband, who didn't know I had attempted to get rid of the entity, was able to finally sleep peacefully in the room again. It wasn't until months later a friend had connected the dots and supposed that what I experienced was a childhood trauma lingering in the room I had done in my shadow work. After having given myself closure with my lost childhood, with what I grew up seeing, this would be very easy to believe, but I've always wondered how it would sound to an outsider. What do you think? I'm glad that banishing it in Jesus' name worked. I know that's always worked for me, as I think we've mentioned in our other podcasts. Um, I am so sorry for whatever you went through. I can't imagine. I know we also had a very rough childhood with a very abusive dad, so I think part of all of that kind of caused some of the dark energy that was in our house growing up. But thank you so much for sending in your story. I think it sounds like exactly what you and your friend think it was. I think it was a demon that was attached to you, that you got it off of you, and it was just lingering because it couldn't be part of you anymore because you were working through that trauma.
She talked in the beginning are like suppressed emotions, the shadow people. So maybe it's some type of like evil spirit
Definitely,
that
yeah.
just feeds, like we were
It's
even
feeding
going to
off
talk
of
about
your
like succubus
sadness
is
and
feeding off that
bitterness.
negative
Yeah.
energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And once you were trying to claim your life back and like take yourself out of those feelings, is when maybe it's like, well, let me try another way to get your
Yeah, it's trying to
attention.
scare you.
Yeah.
Yeah, trying to scare you back into
Just a feeling, and then it
maybe doing something
materialized
else.
into
Yeah.
something trying to scare you into maybe back into that,
Pull you back into
the darkness
stuff that
and the
your dad was
sadness.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that was a great submission. Thank you so much to our very first submission on our thefreakyfems@gmail.com. You know,
Please continue to send us your stories. You can also message us on Facebook and Instagram as well, your stories, if that's easier. And I'm going to try to start responding to our emails sent in by listeners. So please continue to send them, because we would love to read them at the end of each show, at least one or two of them.
Yes. And with that said,
lock your doors and check your windows.
And don't be putting your blood on a piece of paper with your name on it, because the Midnight Man might be outside.
Bye.